Be in the world, but not of the world. Yeshua's teaching. Yeshua taught his followers to live in this world but not to be conformed to it. He said, "They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world." John 17-16. This means that while we live here physically, our minds, hearts, and actions should be set apart from the sinful ways of the world. Many people misunderstand this. Some think it means separating completely, avoiding all interaction with society. Others believe it means blending in, living just like the world but calling themselves believers. Neither of these is correct. What did Yeshua mean? We must live in the world. Yeshua never told his followers to hide from society. He said, "Let your light shine before men." Matthew 5:16. This means we must work, interact, and influence people while standing for righteousness. He compared believers to salt and light, meaning we should bring truth and holiness into a sinful world. We must not be like the world. The world is full of sin, lust, greed, pride, and lawlessness. Yeshua warned, "The world hates me because I testify that its works are evil." John 7:7. Paul said, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Romans 12:2. Being of the world means following sinful desires, lust, greed, pride. Loving the things of this world more than God. 1 John 2:15. Compromising truth for acceptance. James 4:4. Being in the world means living among people, but not living like them. Speaking truth, even when unpopular. Obeying Yeshua instead of culture and society. How this applied in Yeshua's time. The Jewish people in Yeshua's time struggled with this balance. There were three main groups. The Pharisees. They isolated themselves, adding strict rules to avoid being influenced by the world. But Yeshua rebuked them for their hypocrisy. Matthew 23:27. The Sadducees. They compromised with the Romans, gaining power but losing faithfulness to Yah's commandments. The Zealots. They believed in physical rebellion, thinking they could force righteousness through violence. Yeshua did not side with any of these groups. Instead, he lived among sinners, healed the sick, and taught the truth without ever sinning or compromising. How this applies today. We face the same struggle today. Many who claim to follow Yeshua fall into two traps: compromising with the world. Many churches teach that it's okay to mix holiness with sin, celebrating pagan holidays, ignoring the commandments, and accepting worldly values. False teachers preach prosperity and self-love instead of repentance and obedience. People call themselves believers but live no differently than the world, separating completely. Some think holiness means avoiding all non-believers instead of being a light to them. They refuse to engage with society and miss opportunities to share truth. Yeshua did not avoid sinners. He called them to repentance. Instead, we are called to live among unbelievers but not follow their ways. Daniel 1:8. Stand firm in righteousness, even when ridiculed. John 15:18-19. Teach the truth, even when people reject it. 2 Timothy 4:3-4. Will you be of the world or set apart? Yeshua warned, "Enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it." Matthew 7:13. The broad road is compromise, loving sin, and seeking acceptance from the world. The narrow road is obedience, rejection by the world, and suffering for righteousness. Which will you choose? Will you stand apart, or will you follow the world to destruction?